2 months ago, I was sitting in a villa in Bali with 4 guys I met on Discord. We just finished our dinner, everyone's working on their laptops, and it hit me. 3 years ago, I was a first-year university student in New Zealand, completely lost, trying every online business model I could find, losing money on most of them, and wondering if any of this was actually possible for someone like me. Now I'm 22, I just graduated, and I have zero plans to get a job. Not because I'm lazy, but because I've already won. And my definition of what winning probably looks nothing like what you've been sold online. I didn't win by buying a Lambo or signing a lease on some Miami penthouse. I won by building a life where I wake up and do exactly what I want with people that I like from wherever I feel like being that week. Today, I'm gonna walk you through exactly how that happened because the path here was anything but clean. Most people grinding online right now would probably do anything to be in the position I was born into. And I almost just accepted it without any questioning whether it was actually what I wanted. I spent my whole life growing up in Oregon's Willamette Valley, which is pretty much the second most prominent wine region in the US. My dad's a winemaker, my mom's a photographer in the industry. It's literally all I knew growing up. All my parents' friends are in the wine industry. I would literally go to the winery since I was 5 years old, like walk down the vineyards. I had picked grapes is the only thing that I pretty much saw growing up. I was fortunate enough to grow up traveling to different areas because of my dad's job, because he had to travel for work a lot. We would go to France sometimes. Seeing what my dad had done in the wine industry made it just so appealing. I mean, we got to travel often. He had a really good salary. We lived in a beautiful area of the US. For any logical person, that seems absolutely amazing because I had basically everything on a silver platter for me. Since I was 18 years old, I had worked at wineries all the way through high school, basically through my parents' connections. I never had to look for a job through high school because there was one already waiting for me at any winery I wanted just because of my last name. It was the most logical thing for me to apply for winemaking, get a degree in winemaking, which is why I applied to Cornell and UC Davis, which for you guys that don't know, Cornell is an Ivy League school. It's like the 12th best school in the US. And I got in for viticulture and enology, and I got into UC Davis for viticulture and enology. 2 of the best winemaking programs pretty much in the entire world. So I was about to go to school, the best wine school in the world, and I already had internships lined up at this winery called Maison Louis Jadot, which is one of the best wineries in the world in France. And then I ended up not going there for some visa reasons, but the path to 6 figures within a few years of finishing school was basically already paved for me. Respected career, stable income, nice life in the wine country with none of the uncertainty that most people deal with. But here's what nobody talks about when you had a dream opportunity on a silver platter. It wasn't my dream. I just assumed it was because it's all I ever knew and nobody in my life was presenting alternatives. And my parents were originally in corporate America. So my dad was a geologist for like 10 years. My mom was in corporate sales, and about 8 years into his career, he was like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. I absolutely hate the corporate lifestyle. And he started looking into more things. He took a lot of time off. He quit what he was doing, quit his job. And somehow or another, I'm not really too sure, he found winemaking, realized, this wine industry thing, I can make 6 figures doing this. This is a real career. People have real good careers doing this. You can travel a lot. You get to work in beautiful places of the world. So he found a degree for winemaking in New Zealand because, in the US, a winemaking degree was pretty expensive at the time. My parents didn't have a lot of money. My parents literally packed up their bags, this was his midlife crisis, went to school overseas in New Zealand, and I ended up being born in New Zealand while my parents were living there. And my mom wasn't working. My dad was working at internships while being a full-time student. So he was literally making minimum wage. And then they had a kid living in New Zealand, AKA me. So I ended up being born with a New Zealand citizenship and US citizenship. And, my parents left fully amazing careers in corporate America. My dad was a geologist at Shell. My mom was in corporate sales at Computer Horizons, and they had their whole entire life planned out for them. They would probably be more successful now if they actually stayed in that corporate world, but it would have made them miserable. And I really respect my parents for, realizing that relatively early on. I mean, it wasn't still that early on. My dad was 32 years old when he moved to New Zealand and fully bet on himself. But within 10 years of moving to New Zealand, getting into the wine industry, he became one of the best winemakers in the whole entire region. And that's something I really respect about my parents. But somewhere along the way, everyone just assumed I'd want the exact same thing, including me. The problem isn't that winemaking is a bad career because it's genuinely actually a great one for the right person. The problem was that I never actually chose it for myself. It was just the default path I was literally sleepwalking into because it was comfortable and available. And the idea of building my life on default that I just never questioned felt like slow suffocation, even if it came with financial security. And I realized something during my senior year of high school that completely changed my trajectory. If I took this path, I'd spend my entire 20s learning someone else's craft, locked into one geographic location, building somebody else's vision and on someone else's timeline. Even if I succeeded by every external measure, I'd be successful at something I never actually chose for myself. I realized when I was a senior in high school that I wanted to take advantage of my New Zealand citizenship and actually go back to New Zealand for university, not only because it's way less expensive than going to school in the US, it's just because I'd grown up in such a small town in Oregon that I was like, this is my opportunity to really get out of the US and go do something completely different and go like literally reinvent myself. So I took up the opportunity going to New Zealand. But what that meant is when I graduated high school, since New Zealand's a flipped hemisphere, school didn't actually start until February of 2023, and I graduated high school in June of 2022. So I had quite a few months gap. And in that gap is when I went and did a wine internship in California. So I graduated high school in June 2022 at 18. I started the internship in about August of 2022. About 2 months into this internship, I literally fall off a ladder and like hurt my knee, tweak my knee somehow. And I was out of work for 3 days. I was in crutches. And I had always been interested in business and online business. You know, like I literally watched Iman Gadzhi and all these guys, all these gurus online. I'd talked to my other high school friends about wanting to do this stuff, and none of them were ever interested. I never could convince any of my friends to be like, yo guys, let's really put in time to this. Let's really try to like do this dropshipping stuff. I see it all over line, like literally the same typical conversations you have with your day ones. It's just impossible to try to convince them. Anyways, I was scrolling on Instagram and I see this kid promoting a dropshipping course. And you know what? I had probably $4,000 or $5,000 in my bank account because I've always saved my money. And you know, $5,000 when you're working minimum wage jobs in high school, you're saving up a lot of money to have $5,000 in your bank account. Anyways, I had enough money in my bank account to buy this dropshipping course, spent $350, which looking back on it is actually like so cheap for a dropshipping course. Anyways, bought this course and I finished it within the first day of buying the course. I literally finished the whole entire course. It was organic dropshipping on Shopify with TikTok. So you're basically making videos on TikTok, and the process was I would go find another person doing organic dropshipping, replicate their store, replicate their content, and just hope it goes viral. So I found another competitor, I found all of his videos, and I literally just made my videos better than his videos. I was posting 3 times a day, 80-20ing viral content, and I had never made content before, but it just clicked. My first week of making TikTok content, like organic content, I think I had a video hit 2.5 million views. I grew the account to 5,000 followers organically in 1 week, and I had never made a TikTok video in my life. And it's just something that I picked up super fast. Long story short, I ended up generating about $700 on the Shopify store, and I was over the moon. Like I still have videos of me like filming the Shopify dashboard with the first sale. Like, cause the first sale when you do anything online is like one of the best experiences ever. Anyways, the guy who I was 80-20 in content of, this other dropshipper, sends a letter to Shopify and TikTok for intellectual copyright infringement and gets my Shopify shut down and my TikTok shut down. So I had just grown an organic TikTok page to about 5,000 followers, got banned, my Shopify was banned, and it was cooked. But what that made me realize is that, okay, you can actually make money online. Like, it's not a scam. Like, you can really post TikTok videos and sell products, and making money online is a real thing. And that just literally blew my mind and just changed my perspective on everything. And I had this insane paradigm shift. So I went back to the winery after my knee healed and finished the internship because I committed to it, but mentally I was already gone. After the first taste of what was possible, I became completely obsessed with figuring out how to make this work long term. I had a conversation with my parents about the whole winemaking thing. You know, I sat them down and I was like, you know, mom and dad, like, I really love the wine industry. And again, it's like provided so much for our family and done so much for us, but it's just not me. And no matter how much I tried to convince myself that the wine industry was something I wanted to do, and it was something that I could see myself doing, I just couldn't. I've always been obsessed with business. I've always been obsessed with making money. And I knew that I just had to change my degree. So I ended up changing my degree from winemaking, viticulture, enology to finance, literally polar opposites. Like literally nobody in my family has a background in business. Nobody in my family has a background in finance. Anyways, I get back from the internship now. This is about October. Again, I start school, my first year of university in February. And for the next 2.5 years, I literally tried everything I could find. I tried running up an exact same dropshipping store just like I had done with the previous one. Long story short, it didn't end up working. I never went viral on TikTok, unfortunately. But while I was trying to run up the second dropshipping store, you know, I was scrolling on TikTok and I came across a guy promoting a trading Discord, and trading just seemed like the absolute best possible scenario, right? Because you don't have to film anything. You literally wake up, click some buttons, stock shoots up, money appears, you're rich in like fucking 24 hours. That's what everybody thinks with trading. And that's obviously what I thought being a super naive 18-year-old. So I get in this Discord, and the other kid that's running the server is probably like 18 or 19 years old as well. I was in one of the voice channels with him, and I was just like kind of asking him questions. I was like throwing so many questions about him. Like, what is trading? What does it work? How is it actually as easy as everybody thinks? And he like showed me screen sharing, and I was like, well, no, I was like super sick. And I was like, oh, I can totally do this. We're going to totally do this. But then he had that TikTok promoting the trading Discord, which is what I saw. And I was like, oh, like I have a little bit of experience doing content creation. Like I told him about the dropshipping stores and how I blew it up really fast. And then he was like, oh, I'll pay you $30 for every 100 people that you bring in. I was like, all right, bet. So I made a new TikTok account promoting the server, and I did the exact same method that I was doing for organic dropshipping for trading. So I would go to all these trading gurus videos, 80-20 their content, and I was posting 5 times a day. So I was already posting like crazy volume with not knowing that this is actually what you should be doing. Like I had no idea how to make content. I would go find content about trading or dropshipping or any online money niche that had went viral in the past week. I would 80-20 it based on our offer and with all of our own clips. So I literally didn't use anyone else's clips. We went on a trip to Naples, Florida over that winter break, and I was filming all these cars like Lambos, Ferraris, obviously like, making it look like lit as fuck, and then taking videos of my friends like screenshots and his dashboards of Webull trading and whatnot. And we went viral. We went so viral. I think I generated at least 30-40 million views in 2 months organically, and I grew a TikTok account from 0 to 32,000 followers promoting this trading Discord. When I realized, I was like, damn, like I'm really good at this content creation stuff. But long story short, these guys were basically faking the results the whole entire time. So that ended about that winter break after I realized that. I still got paid, luckily, for everyone I brought in. So I made about $2,000 for bringing all those people into the server, which was the most money I'd made at the time from anything like that was like online related. But getting into trading was probably one of the worst things I ever did, because trading cost me 12 months of trial and error and constant losses. I was never profitable trading. I probably lost $5,000 all up over the course of it, because the first thing I got into was stock and options trading, and that's what this kid was like teaching in the Discord server. And I had a Webull account, so I put $1,000 in first, lost all that, like refilled my account, lost all that. And then after that, I got into Forex trading, because when I went to New Zealand, when I started my first year of school, like I can't trade the US markets because of the time change and everything. Like I would have to wake up at like 1 a.m. or like these retarded hours. So I switched to Forex trading, which is 24 hours. I could trade like London section, all this other like stuff. And long story short, never worked, never was profitable trading, worst decision of my life. And for some reason, I didn't think to be like, oh, like you were really good at making content. Maybe you should just try doing that again in another way. Like it didn't click for basically 2 years until I got into TikTok Shop. But my first 2 years of university, I tried a whole bunch of different, startups and side hustles while I was in university. I was super eager to meet absolutely everybody I could. I had an idea for a storage business at my university. And the storage business, what it was going to be is, there's so many international students at University of Auckland, where I went to school in New Zealand, specifically from China and other places in Asia. So I was like, all right, these kids all have to go home over summer break for like 2.5 months. And, they don't want to rent out a whole entire storage locker, this huge like garage or whatever, because it's just like space that you don't need. So essentially it was like, all right, I'm going to charge students based on 1 box of storage stuff if they're moving out of their dorms, and we'll store it for them over the summer. And then when they arrive back wherever they go, we're going to deliver it to them. Literally just like pretty much like a storage delivery service, but specifically for students. So I printed out like hundreds of flyers, hung them up all over the different dorms across the school, made a social media and whatever. We stored for 5 students over the summer. I made a few $100 doing that. And then I realized, why the hell am I doing this? Like I can't be stuck in New Zealand, because in New Zealand, it's a really cool country. It's beautiful and everything, but there's absolutely nothing there. People are not that ambitious in New Zealand. There's actually a phenomenon in New Zealand called tall poppy syndrome, and it's called cutting down the tall poppy. So when people are trying to rise up or, do something different, basically other people are going to cut you down. Whereas in America, everyone is, wants to push each other forward. They're super eager to help you out, and everyone kind of just reinforces each other. And that just doesn't happen in New Zealand at all. The worst part of this whole period wasn't even the failures themselves, because I could handle losing. It was just watching other people online make it look effortless while I keep hitting wall after wall. I'd see kids my age posting Shopify dashboards and living in Bali and traveling wherever they wanted like it was nothing. Meanwhile, I was stuck sitting in my tiny dorm room in Auckland wondering what the hell I was doing wrong. I was giving 100% effort to everything I tried. I was sacrificing my social life and my sleep and my sanity for this. I was trying every online business model I could find, and nothing was working no matter how much I pushed. But honestly, I had already tasted once that stupid little $700 in sales from the first failed dropshipping store. That small win proved the game was real and that regular people could actually make money online without special connections or credentials. And I knew deep down that if I quit now, I would literally spend the rest of my life wondering what would have happened if I just kept going just a little bit longer. So I kept going even when it felt like everything was pointless and nothing worked in my favor. It was really rough. Like, I had a lot of dark times first and second year of university because I knew I had a clock. Like, I graduated in a year and a half, and it was either I figured some shit out, make money online or do a startup or something, or I go fucking work at PwC or these firms and I'm gonna hate my life for the next 40 years. So I really knew that I had to figure it out now or I was gonna be miserable for the rest of my life. And that kept me up a lot of nights, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of sacrificed nights when my friends were going out and I was staying in my dorm room working, day in and day out, trying to get absolutely anything to work. I tried a whole bunch of other things besides what I've mentioned. Like, I tried print on demand. I did some more different trading stuff. And again, none of it worked. Anyways, my sister got into making content when I had actually started promoting that trading server on TikTok after I graduated high school, because I was telling her, I was like, Shirley, it's like, you could go viral if you just do exactly what I'm doing with the trading stuff. Long story short, I started working for my sister. She started becoming like a micro influencer on TikTok, and now she does that on Instagram. She gets paid by brand deals. By that time, some brands started reaching out to my sister for UGC content, user generated content. And my mom's like, Cal, you've made content before, you should try out this UGC stuff. And I was like, what, sure, I'll give it a go. And then we had a connection with a family friend. So this guy is my mom's friend's husband's cousin. Deadass. Like, mom's friend's husband's cousin. That's who this guy is. Anyways, he does UGC full time. And my mom's like, he does UGC full time and he makes, over 6 figures a year doing UGC. And she's like, you should definitely hop on a call with this guy and just ask him questions. Like, all right, great. Let's hop on a call with this guy, see what he has to say about UGC, because I had never really had a mentor for anything that I'd done in the past. It was literally me just free balling it off YouTube because I was too stubborn to buy a course. Anyways, hop on a call with this guy about UGC. He lives about an hour from where I'm house. So I go drive up to Portland. He teaches me everything about UGC. And I just jump on it immediately. He's like, all right, first thing you need to do is you need to make a UGC portfolio, go film a whole bunch of products in your house, display how all the different content styles that you can do. And I just start doing it. I make this full portfolio of all the different content styles I can do. And then he helps me with brand outreach. I start reaching out to brands. I start doing free brand deals at first, and then I start charging. And then in the first 2 months of me doing UGC, maybe not 2 months, I think maybe first 4 months of UGC, I made about a total of $10,000 in profit. And this was crazy to me because I never made really any money consistently online. I had one brand deal where I made $7,000 promoting these shoes. I got 50 free pairs of shoes. I made $7K total. And this is I was in my second year of university at the end of it. So I was kind of towards the end of my second year. And this was my friends, my roommates were like, damn, Cal, you're doing really well. You're making good money online. And I felt like I was balling, bro. If you make 7K from one deal and you're 20 years old, in college, when everyone else around you is broke, you felt like the man. And that's what I felt like. This was the first time I had actual proof of concept that I could make real money online consistently. First time the effort I was putting in actually matched the results I was getting back. First time I genuinely felt like I wasn't completely delusional for believing in this path. Obviously, the money was not life-changing, but the validation was everything. Around the same time, my mentor, Trevor, reached out to me. He's like, dude, you got to start doing TikTok Shop. I started doing TikTok Shop and I'm making so much more money than I was doing UGC. And I was like, all right, bet. Let me get on this TikTok Shop thing. I already had that TikTok Shop account that I grew from the trading server that had 32,000 followers on it. So I already had an account that was eligible for TikTok Shop. My first week of TikTok Shop, I did the same thing I've always done with content. I go find a viral video at 80/20, I'd replicate it. I made 4K my first week, and I was like 4K from literally taking a video, screen recording it and posting it and adding a product link. It was mind blowing. Anyways, from that first week I did TikTok Shop, I basically had a 4-month dry spout where nothing was working well. And this is the main problem that I've talked about in the past in one of the other YouTube videos is I'm in New Zealand and I wasn't able to get TikTok Shop products stuck with me. So I was basically stuck with the cards that I was dealt, which is a few products that were super shitty. And if I was able to make AI content back then, it would have been great. Anyways, it wasn't really working. So I had just finished my first semester of my second year. And then I was gonna go to Singapore next, right? I was gonna go to Singapore for my second semester of my second year. But I had to go home for a break in between that basically because I wasn't gonna go back to New Zealand. I was gonna go from Oregon, where I live in the US, to Singapore for my second semester because I went home in between from New Zealand. So I went home and then I started doing TikTok shop again. I was like, all right, I'm back in Oregon. I can get products shipped to my house. I should try this TikTok shop thing. I should give it a full shot to get as many products as I need before I go to school in Singapore. And I'm again stuck in the same situation where I have to do, like only promote the products that I have with me. So I started doing TikTok shop, like really pushing it, like posting 5 times a day for talking head content, which is so much volume for talking head content because talking head content usually are doing 1 a day. Anyways, I was doing like kind of like 5 videos of talking head content every single day. And I found this guy that was doing talking head content promoting Young LA, the gym brand. And I did the same thing I've always done. I did like 80-20 of the content, and Trevor had given me like a few pieces of Young LA. So I had like 3 clothes that I could promote. Again, I didn't have like crazy amount of money or anything at the time. So, or I had enough, but like I didn't want to go spend, several $100s or a few $1,000s on all this Young LA clothing to promote. So I had like 4 or 5 shirts, started promoting that, and it started doing really well. I think I made like $1,000 or $2,000 in my first like few weeks of promoting Young LA, and then it was going insanely well. I reached out to Young LA and was like, yo, I just had a live stream on TikTok shop with you guys. I did like 2K in sales. I'd love to drop on a call and see how we can take this partnership further. And after like 10 emails of me trying to get through to them, because Young LA doesn't have like any partners anyway on TikTok shop, I was able to get on the phone with them, had a call with the CEO's wife for Young LA. She got me on a brand deal. She's gonna give me just $500 a month for product, which was insane for me because it's like Young LA was like one of my favorite gym brands at the time. And now I was gonna have $500 for product every single month. I took all the product that I got with me from that first batch or whatever, took it to Singapore, and I had about like 15 pieces of Young LA clothes that I basically promoted for the whole entire duration of me in Singapore, which is about 3 months. And my first month in Singapore, I had like a 3K profit week, ended up being like a $10,000 month promoting Young LA and TikTok shop. And I was doing this all from my dorm room. My dorm room was like the size of a shoebox. It was the smallest dorm room ever. I literally had my desk here, a ring light on the desk, like pointing towards me, and I was standing there making these TikTok shop videos every single day in my dorm room while I was on exchange, while I was full-time in school, and while I was going out 2 to 3 times a week getting absolutely lit as fuck with all these kids that I met on exchange. Like, because I was the only American in our friend group on exchange. So our friend group was like 10 girls and 5 guys, and we were pure degenerates. We'd go out 2-3 times a week, we'd party, and this is when I was making like 10K a month online. So I didn't have to worry about the price of anything. We would go out, I would spend like whatever amount at the club, and then they'd be like, yo, let's go to the Philippines like tomorrow over the weekend. And I was like, all right, bet. Like, obviously my parents were paying for my tuition, but everything else was on me. And now I actually had a lot of disposable income. So I was just like, yeah, let's go. So we went off to the Philippines for a full week, island hopping around the Philippines, literally 8-day bender. And during this whole week, I had already batched like a whole bunch of TikTok shop content the week prior. So I made $3,000 profit while I was on exchange, while I was literally on a 5-day, 6-day bender in the Philippines. And all I was doing was posting the content I already drafted. And it was like peak life. That trip was like the most fun I never want to have again, because I felt so shitty afterwards just from how much we've been drinking, but also like, 10 girls and 5 guys going on a trip to the Philippines while I was making like a few $1,000s a week online. And everybody else around me is like other college kids that had no idea I was actually making money online. I didn't tell anybody about it just because, like kids get weird about you doing stuff entrepreneurial or making money online. I just preferred to keep it to myself, but it gave me the freedom and flexibility to kind of do whatever I wanted on that exchange. And that exchange was the best 3 months of my life. It proved to me that I could really do this stuff and I can make money from my phone. And after that 10K month, I had an internship that was supposed to start in New Zealand at a Forex brokerage. And this was supposed to start January 10th of 2025. And after the 10K month, I said to myself, I was like, all right, you can either go fully in on this TikTok shop stuff, like try to meet more people, try to get more connections, keep scaling up what you're doing, or you start an internship in 2 months and you have no free time to commit to anything. And I called my parents and I was like, all right, Mom and Dad, like I really want to commit to this thing. I think I can make it work and I think I can take it further. And I ended up turning down the internship. I emailed them, said I was going to go all in on this online business that I'm working on, and I would love to keep this door open in the future for anything like that. Long story short, I ended up finishing off my exchange in Singapore, still doing really well in TikTok shop. I come home, and January, when I should have started the internship, was my best month on TikTok shop. I did about 17K total in profit. I had a $1,400 day in profit, which blew my mind. The fact that I made like $1,400 in one day was just crazy to me because, back a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I was doing the drop shipping shit and I did $700 in sales, which only equated to probably like $250 in sales for drop shipping. Now I just made $1,400 in profit doing TikTok shop in one day. That same month, I met Levi and got plugged into the Apex ecosystem. This is when I started seeing what's actually possible when you surround yourself with people operating at the highest level instead of grinding alone. Around this time, I co-founded my old agency, Creator Bridge, which was another affiliate agency in the TikTok shop space. The entire trajectory of my life literally shifted in a span of a few weeks. And last month, I was in Bali with 4 Apex guys I met online who became some of my closest friends. Before that, I was traveling through New Zealand with my mom, closing that chapter where everything started. After that, I was in Sydney, which was my first time in Australia. Went to South Australia to visit a friend just because I could. No alarm clock unless I decide to set one for myself. No boss unless I choose to work for someone. No fixed location unless I decide I want to stay somewhere longer. No ceiling on what I could build unless I impose one on myself. I don't have a GT3 RS sitting in my garage somewhere. I don't have a penthouse in Miami with a brickle balcony to film content from. I don't have a Rolex or a yacht or whatever else people flex online to prove that they've made it. And honestly, I could have had a clear path to all of that if I just followed the wine industry script that was handed to me. Because none of that stuff is actually freedom, it is just expensive proof that you're playing someone else's game by somebody else's rules. A nice car is a liability that ties you in one place, costs money every single month. A penthouse is just an anchor that keeps you in one city paying rent. Stat symbols are just proof that you care about what other people think about your success. I watched my parents chase the traditional corporate path before they pivoted into wine, and they were miserable until they finally bet on themselves. They taught me that the path everybody expects you to take is rarely the path that actually makes you happy. The ability to wake up every single day and decide what I'm actually doing with my time. Friends who are building at the same level in the same season of my life who actually understand what I'm trying to do. Income isn't tied to a location or a boss or a schedule or anyone else's approval. Time, and I mean actual time, not 2 weeks of paid time off that I had to request in advance. Optionality to say yes to opportunities I can't even predict yet because I'm not locked into anything. Now, most people watching this will never actually bet on themselves, and I'm not saying that to be harsh. They're gonna take the safe job because that's guaranteed. They're gonna follow the script because it's what everybody else expects. They'll wake up at 45 wondering what happened to all those dreams that they had when they were younger. And honestly, that's fine if that's what they choose. But you don't have to make that same choice if it's not what you actually want. 3 years ago, I was just a kid who fell off a ladder at a winery and actually discovered that making money online was actually possible for regular people. I had no skills in this space, no connections, no idea what I was doing. I just knew I couldn't spend my entire life building somebody else's dream in one location on someone else's schedule, no matter how comfortable that path might be. Now I'm 22, living the exact life I designed for myself, surrounded by people who think the same way I do, building something that actually matters to me. If you want to learn more about the skill that helps me do this, check out the link in the description below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.